After Wano concluded, we as a collective community were very excited to see what adventures and fights wait for Luffy and the gang after what they just experienced. We knew someone strong would have to be there to match up against Luffy, and we got a form of that in Kizaru. When he showed up to Egghead Island, the clear battle they were going to have was hyped up and really wanted for by the fans. However, that excitement would be met with shallow expectations, as Kizaru really didn't showcase what he was truly capable of, and we never got to see how the fight would have actually played out. Now, I and countless others have discussed Kizaru vs Luffy and who was really stronger, but I want to take a different path and question how strong Kizaru would be. What's going on, guys? Verdicts here, and if you are new to the channel, I do countless One Piece videos and other such. If you enjoy videos like these, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I put out quality content like this weekly, you won't want to miss. So, let's start with how we can scale Kizaru. During his introduction, we saw that if you're not a top tier, you might as well be a fly on the wall, as he will swat you away and pay you no attention of mind. It is not until Rayleigh appears that someone in the premises is even able to challenge this guy. Now, Rayleigh is no bum. He was the right-hand man of Roger for years. Even so, he is still not enough to stall Kizaru long enough. He outright says it and shows it, and it is only because of Kuma that all the Straw Hats are still alive. While Rayleigh was strong, it was clear as day he wasn't strong enough to stop Kizaru from killing the Straw Hats until Kuma stepped in. This is all while Kizaru is aimlessly swinging his sword around. As we see later on, he can move and attack at speeds much higher than this. Mind you, Rayleigh was so powerful that the Navy was aware of his position, but chose to let him be because they would lose too many men in the process. Garp himself is the one that says this, and keep that in mind because that's important for later on. Now, being one of the 3 OG admirals displayed at Marineford, he showcased just a fraction of how strong he could be, as when Marco, the first in command of the Whitebeard fleet, charges at him, Kizaru uses one of his named attacks in Yasakani no Makatama that Marco blocks. But one thing to note about him blocking it is that it wasn't due to his raw durability or power. This wasn't him tanking the attack. His blue flames are hacks enough that they can stop many attacks from top tiers, as he does this with Kaido, Big Mom, and even Akainu as well. He is also able to heal with his Devil Fruit that gives him that boost. After blocking this attack, Marco pushes upwards where he was getting easily pushed back by Kizaru. Not only does he easily react to his attacks, but Marco calls Kizaru out for lying when he tries to make him think his kicks hurt him. Later on during the war, we see that without his Devil Fruit's healing factor, Marco cannot withstand Kizaru's simple point-and-shoot lasers and can get critically injured by these. Marco is fast and powerful enough that he can dominate and win against both King and Queen of the Beast Pirates for a few minutes. Marco is regarded as one of the stronger first-in-commands and clearly stands no chance against Kizaru. Not only do these point-and-shoot lasers do damage to Marco, but he does the same with Whitebeard, who is being put to his knees by these lasers. By the way, when Kizaru shot Whitebeard, he was able to use Future Sight and morph his body to avoid attacks, the same way we see Katakuri do in Whole Cake Island. Remind you, Whitebeard knows you need Haki to touch these guys. He's not a fucking idiot. That was his clear Future Sight before we knew what it was. He not only uses it in Marineford, but in Egghead when avoiding Sentomaru's attacks. Not only did he and the rest of the admirals display advanced observation Haki, but when Whitebeard is attempting to destroy Marineford, the admirals use Rio, or advanced armament Haki, to push back his attack and prevent it from collapsing Marineford. Later on during the end of the war, we see Ben Beckman has Kizaru at gunpoint. However, even when being told not to move and Kizaru having knowledge of who Beckman is, he still follows through with his attack on Lost Ship, escaping with Luffy. For the longest time, people genuinely thought this made Beckman around Kizaru in strength for some reason, even though Kizaru clearly wasn't really worried about him. If he did exactly what Beckman told him not to while being at gunpoint, Kizaru is clearly in all senses far above the likes of a first in command. He is never worried about them, nor is he set up to fight them in a real battle. This is of course a fraction of Kizaru's power, as we knew him along with Akainu and Aokiji were holding back during the war, as if any one of them were to use their true power, the casualties would be insane and only the strongest of the strong would be able to make it out of there alive. On top of this, Marineford and the city that resides within it would be destroyed as well. They simply just couldn't display their true power during the war. Another thing to look into when frankly any One Piece character is involved is the statements told throughout the story. During the panel of all 3 admirals on their chairs, we see the narrator refers to them as the strongest force the Navy possesses. This isn't a character saying a hyperbole, this is a narrator statement being Oda's very own words, meaning anybody that is working under the Navy is inferior in strength to the admirals. The main ones this puts them over is the likes of Sengoku and Garp. Now, something I will forever have to debate is how Garp didn't want to become an admiral, therefore he is excluded from this statement. This just isn't the case. When they refer to the admirals, they refer to these three men specifically. Even during Aokiji's introduction, and being the first ever admiral introduced, Robin herself says that they are the ultimate military force. It is clear and consistent that Oda is showcasing these guys as the current day strongest in the Navy. Not only are they shown and told to be the strongest in the Navy by characters within the verse, but even outside narrator statements would agree. As for the Garp not wanting to become an admiral thing, well, like I said, this statement and title was for these three men only. I've seen people lie to me about this before, but Greenbull and Fujitora outright don't have that statement within their Viva cards. I don't know why people will lie about it, but they will claim it says the same thing for them. But even if that would be the case, that would just follow alongside. There's weird hate towards the admirals, obviously, and people outright lie about them, but it's nowhere said that Greenbull nor Fujitora possess the same strength or title as the strongest in the Navy as these three did. I mean, we saw this was clearly the case as Kuzan, who was obviously shown to be holding back, defeated Garp. Not only did Garp point this out, but just look at the context. If Kuzan truly wanted to beat Garp and stop the rest of Sword from escaping, he could have just frozen the sea like he did in his introduction. Even through that, he still won the fight. This was a holding back Kuzan, so why wouldn't a full-power bloodlusted Kizaru not be able to? All three of Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru are the strongest force the Navy was in possession of, yes. And the last statement to bring up is that he was willing to challenge both Kaido and Big Mom after learning about their alliance. This only didn't happen because the Navy was unaware about the power of the samurai. But if they knew that they were bums all along, he probably would have gave Kizaru the green light to go ahead to Wano. As for what we can conclude from his performance on Egghead Island, well, you guys know and have heard it multiple times that he was mentally nerfed. He was not trying to kill Vegapunk, as he outright says it and stalls him multiple times when he could have killed him then and there. Saturn mentions it, and even at the end of the arc, because you guys refuse to see past your childish hate, Oda outright puts it in our face that he was holding back by having Kizaru literally admit it and cry because of the pain he was dealt with by killing Vegapunk. Yes, Kizaru was mentally nerfed through the entire arc, and it is something mentioned can make you weaker multiple times. Now, as for the feats themselves, well, a good amount will tell you the feats were awful and lackluster, but maybe lackluster, but at the same time, definitely not awful. In fact, he has some really good feats in this arc, as when fighting Snake Man, he is easily blocking all of his attacks with his elite defenses, and blitzes and practically one-shots him. Mind you, Snake Man and Luffy and Wano was able to push back and actually overpower Kaido for a short time. The thing about this version of Snake Man though, is the strength in Egghead gaps the strength he had in Wano, as we see when he unlocks Gear 5 later on and gains the post-island buff the Straw Hats get arc through arc. He then is even stronger when fighting Kizaru and can't deal damage when in Snake Man and gets one shot. This attack sends Luffy flying through the barrier, and it wasn't the barrier that made Luffy feel this much pain, as we see Vegapunk satellites can easily withstand the damage of these blasts, and Luffy is obviously much stronger than them and was getting messed up by Kizaru's kick here. Now, this attack was the biggest Luffy was dealt with through this arc, as he is shown with bandages from this attack after the arc is over. I know people will say it's from the Gorosei, but I have a question for them. Show me exactly which attack it was that Luffy was feeling this much pain from. Show me right now. Which attack was it? Oh, okay then. The Gorosei literally did nothing to him. The only real attack was from Kizaru, meaning this attack was clearly the strongest attack Luffy was dealt throughout Egghead. Not only does he dish out insane amount of damage while holding back, but even when being thrown around and attacked by Gear 5 Luffy several times, the Marines can't find a single wound on him. When we see him at the end of the arc, we see him with our own eyes that he is unscathed, perfectly fine, physically at least. These attacks are not only able to be stopped by Kizaru if he really wanted to, but he doesn't even withstand genuine damage at all throughout Egghead. Mind you, Stargun is one of Luffy's strongest attacks Kizaru was hit dead on with, that didn't do much at all to him. Now all I'm saying is if this attack hit Kaido, he's feeling that a lot more than Kizaru did, all I'm saying. And another thing to mention is that Kizaru moved so fast, he was able to give Luffy food before anybody on the island could perceive. They didn't even know how he got the food. He blitzed the entire arc. The Gorosei Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, everybody. He literally wanted Luffy and the Straw Hats to successfully escape with Vegapunk alive, so much so that he assisted Luffy by giving him food faster than anybody could see. This is single-handedly the best speed feat in all of One Piece. Nobody else has genuinely blitzed this many top-tier fighters, especially in this manner. Like, it's not even close, dude. Now, to go over, we have Kizaru with top 1 speed, being able to blitz all of Egghead Island effortlessly. He is able to easily overpower both Rayleigh and Marco, and doesn't care for Beckman despite knowledge of his powers. He can deal serious damage while holding back to both Whitebeard and Luffy, and overpower Rayleigh. Stated to be above the likes of Garp and Sengoku, was willing to take on Kaido and Big Mom both, can use advanced versions of both Armament and Observation Haki, along with tanking attacks from Gear 5 Luffy, and leave him with wounds that affected him more than any other through Egghead, and this is all while he was holding back, as we have yet to see him go all out in a serious fashion, as well as pull out the inevitable Logia Awakening. All in all, Kizaru is an insanely powerful man that is in the top tier territory and can compete with any other top tier in a fight. He is truly a top tier fighter and is one of the men that is required to be within your top 10. Start showing more love to Big Business Borsalino. Well, that's it for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit that subscribe button and leave a like. It really helps with the algorithm and is very appreciated. As always, shout out to Tiberius for the thumbnail. If you would like some quality thumbnails of your own, hit him up on Twitter, link in the description, as well as my Twitter @Vertex_ for more of my takes. And without further ado, you guys can get out of here.